Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Let's take a ride. We're going to ride into the Keefe D lost evidence story, right? They done lost the floppy disk, they lost the hard drive, they lost everything. But remember, one thing survived that might be his worst enemy, and that's his own words out his mouth from his interviews. You saw him on Vlad, you saw him on All the Dialogue, you saw him dancing everywhere. Now, they're going to use those same things against him. They can't find the files because it's over 30 years. A lot of the files is old, corrupt, old, outdated material, this and that. So they can't even use none of that, you know? So they having trouble with everything. But the one thing that survived is his mouth. His mouth. And that's what got him. So you have to sit back, listen, I'm going to give you the unique Mecca audio twist. I'm going to let you know what it's like in his mind, what would make him even do that, because I'm going to tap into the psychological effect of what's going on in Keefe D's mind. Let's get this party riding. Hit that like button, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the hype button. You know what it is, keep it moving. Step to the left if you try not to save yourself, trying to save yourself. Step to the right, hit the like button, let's keep it moving. All right. I'm all over here right now. This joint right here is so crazy. I want you to look at the picture on the screen. That's Keefe D. I chose the back of his head because we're going to tap into his mind today. I did 26 years in federal prison. I know what it felt like, what it looked like, what it smelled like, what it tastes like to stand in a courtroom facing the rest of your life. And that's what we're going to speak about. But before we go into that, let me play the joint because Keefe D tried to get the evidence, you know, his book suppressed, didn't want his book to be used in the joint. And right now it looks like, being that they granted the book being used, the files can't open, everything going down, it's looking good for him, but it's looking bad because his mouth got him caught up. Let's play this, man.
A Las Vegas judge hearing arguments today to dismiss a book which holds the so-called truth to the Tupac shooting, as its author says he might have made it up.
So that author is Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, accused in the 1996 shooting near the Strip. 8 News Now reporter James Schaefer in court hearing arguments today on if the book is fiction or not.
After 40 pages worth of motions, a Clark County District Court judge allowing the book at the center of the Tupac shooting into evidence ahead of a jury trial, with some caveats.
Their position on the book is it's fiction. So we should be entitled to establish what he said in that book is true.
Prosecutors
right there, that's where the prosecutor is saying that Keefe D labeled the book fiction. That means he's saying everything is true, his ego, his pride, his legitimacy. He was that hood California gangster connected to Tupac. And now that's coming back to haunt him. Sit back, we're going to play this out, then I'm going to get into my spiel.
In the case against dismissing evidence, a written so-called confession by the accused, 62-year-old Dwayne Keefe D. Davis.
Had he decided to never write the book, he would not probably have ever been prosecuted for the crime.
This
right there, you heard what he said. If he wouldn't have wrote the book, he may not have been prosecuted for the crime. So y'all think about these interviews y'all are doing. He talked himself into a cage. Let's go.
Regarding the 1996 shooting death of rap icon Tupac Shakur in the shadow of the Las Vegas Strip.
Go get the book, you know, and you can get the real truth about this whole situation.
That real truth.
Right there, he's promoting. Go get the book. I'm going to give you the real truth. Now the feds grabbed that book and said, oh, this is the real truth. Well, this is what we got for you. A cage. All the way in Nevada.
Truth written in this 2019 book, Compton Street Legend, in which Davis writes along with a co-writer he was with a group which followed Shakur and handed a gun to the shooter. A possible confession leading to this.
Hands on top of your head right now.
Metro Police outside Davis's Henderson home arresting him and charging him. Clark County District Court Judge Carly Kearney hearing arguments and denying Davis's attorney's attempts to dismiss the book as evidence. adding he promoted the book.
There's a couple more motions before the trial starts, but at this particular point, we're all set and ready to go to trial.
Davis's attorney Michael Samt acknowledging the book is in play for a jury to see, but claiming some victory with leaving the door open to dismiss other evidence like police interviews with Davis and a part and parcel sequester of the jury, further closing them out from the world outside the courtroom.
That phone that you're holding accesses information faster than anything else that we know, especially at the time of Tupac's shooting.
Now the jury trial.
Right there, so you understand, right? We ain't even got to go no more than that, just so you understand. That phone is the key to everything. But now we're going to tap into the dark psychological effects of Keefe D and how he wound up where he's at. I feel like playing some music with this, all right? So let's go. So now, remember, the files are lost, but his mouth survived. Keefe D's mouth survived while the floppy disk don't work. They was getting ready to put in, you heard him just say it yourself, to get these evidence dismissed, and now the evidence is not operable. Now, this story is not about Keefe D talking, and this is not to bash Keefe D. This is about, that's too easy, right? This is too basic. Everybody can say that. The real story is darker. The state is saying some old evidence is missing, some files can't be found, some materials can't be accessed, old floppy disks, old reports, old investigation material. And now Keefe D might be sitting there thinking, they lost the case. I can beat it. He might be laying in his cell thinking at night, they lost the files. Round of applause. They lost the files. All right, relax, y'all. Relax. We riding. This is just in his mind. Let's get this straight. He might be thinking or telling himself, they lost evidence. But here's the dark part. What if the missing files ain't the strongest evidence anymore? What if the thing they still have is the thing that they gave them, that he gave them. He gave them the evidence they needed. His book, his interviews, his own words, his own need to be remembered as Keefe D, that California gangster. That's the unique Mecca audio twist. The floppy disk might be dead, the file might be missing, the paperwork might be gone, but his mouth stayed open and alive, and that's what's burying him in the state court right now. And I got to give you the jewel. Y'all ready for the jewel? All right, come to class, y'all. Everyone come to class, sit down. This is the professor. I'm gonna break this down, right? Lost evidence can give a man hope, but his own words can turn that hope into fear. What do you think about that? Put it in the comments. Do you think that right now Keefe D's scared to death because of his own mouth? Come to class. If the files are missing, but your words survive, did you really beat the case? Put that in the verdict sheet. Right? Let me start off real quick. Let me get to this. I want to just capture your mind real quick because we got to ride. Now, class, come close and listen, right? This Keefe D story just got darker because now they saying evidence is missing, files is lost, old reports is missing, floppy disk that can't be opened, material they can't find, and somewhere in that cell, Keefe D might be breathing different. He's breathing what he think is hope. He might be thinking they lost it. He might be thinking the case is cracking. He might be thinking God gave me a window. Thank you, Lord, for giving me this window. But here's where it gets cold. They may have lost the files, but they did not lose his mouth. They could not get the book thrown out. The lawyers you just saw couldn't get the book thrown out with him putting his own words on paper, as they called it in the courtroom, a written confession. The interviews still exist. The public statements still exist. The clips, the shorts, they all still exist. And that's the nightmare. A man can hope the evidence disappeared, then realize the evidence might be the story he told himself. Let's ride to the jewel. We gonna ride to the jewel. The file cabinet can go empty, but the courtroom can still be full of your own voice, Mr. Keefe D. Now, what's your verdict on this, right? Put your verdict in the comments on this. Now, is lost evidence enough when a man already gave the world his version? When a man already confessed to the crime, does lost evidence even matter? Put that in the comment. Now, what this story is about, that's what we're gonna talk about, right? Let me put this in plain language. This is about the Tupac murder case. This is about Keefe D fighting for his life in court. This is about reports that old evidence connected to the investigation may be missing, damaged, inaccessible, or not available. Old police reports, old investigative files, old technology, floppy disk, a case almost 30 years old with old technology, old people missing, people dead, people in prison. Now that matters. Because when evidence disappears, the defense can attack the case. When files are missing, the defense can question the timeline. When old material can't be accessed, the defense can say, how can we trust what they're presenting now? This gives a defendant hope, and hope in jail is a jail cell. I mean, it can be dangerous. Hope in jail could be dangerous because hope can make you feel daylight is coming. Even when the door is still locked, you feel like sunshine is coming and there's no windows in the room. Could they lock you in a 8x4 with no windows, solid steel? I sat in ADX Supermax for 5 years. 23 hours a day, I was locked down for 5 years. And that was 5 days a week. The weekends and holidays, I stayed in 24 hours a day. And hope the holiday that y'all was celebrating, this same 4th of July, I spoke about Carmelo Anthony, Pooh Shiesty, Lil Durk. Everybody was in prison praying the holidays would get over so they could get to the weekday and hope something changes in court to give them hope. Now, let's ride to the jewel. Let's ride to the jewel. Hope inside a cell can either keep a man alive or make the crash hurt worse when reality walks in and he realizes it's his own words that's burying him. Now, did y'all report the clash? Y'all report the clash? All right, y'all got your phones out and all that. Let's get our comments ready because like I said, right, I like letting y'all know. Like I said, y'all already know my content fire, right? Now, I already got this little 100,000 joint. Throw this away. Because they give you that, and then they tell you that only way for them to show their joints to the people is they gotta like it, they gotta comment, they gotta hype it, they gotta do all this extra stuff now that you don't put your work in and you done got that. You understand what I'm saying? So if y'all want this word to get out to the youth, you have to do all of the above that I just said. Let's keep this moving. Now, y'all reported the class. What is more dangerous in jail? No hope or false hope? Put that in the comment. You're in class. Class is in session. All right? Now, let's talk about the lost psychological cell. Let's talk about the lost psychological cell. Y'all, what do you think the lost psychological cell is? Put it in the comment. I had to give y'all things to do to put it in the comments so we get this thing going so we get out there to the youth. Now, right? This is where I want you to think. Not like a fan, not like a blogger, not like somebody laughing online. Think like a man sitting behind that door. Think like Keefe D right now. You hear the files are missing. You hear they can't find certain reports. You hear some old floppy disk won't open. You hear some material may not even be available. Now your mind starts running. You start telling yourself, they got it. They can't get me. The coppers can't get me. You might be telling yourself, man, they needed that evidence. Now they can't access it. Don't have it, lost it. You start telling yourself, maybe I'm going home. Keefe D, little Keefe D, I'm coming, baby boy. This is what's going on in that mind I'm showing you behind me. But then the lawyer reminds you, they still got your book, Keefe. They still got your book. Oh, man. That's how that hope get crushed. Let me give you another scene. But you know what? Let me give you an intro. And then I'm going to come back with another scene because this is how I want to do it. All right? Now we're going to come back with another scene because this is about Tupac. So we're going to show you Tupac up there. Now, the lawyer reminds them they still got the book. They still got the interviews you did on Vlad, out of dialogue, and wherever else you went. They still got the public statements. They still got what you said when you thought history was listening. When you thought you was creating a legacy for yourself as that fictional gangbanger connected to Tupac. The Suge Knight, the death row movement, and now you're sitting in a courtroom. Now, not the courtroom, right? That right there is mental torture. Straight mental torture this man is gonna do. Hope pulls you one way, your own words pull you right back. His hope is telling them, I can beat it, they losing the files. And then his own words pull him back, but damn, I wrote that book and promoted it. And now it came back to bite me. Let's ride with the jewel. Let's ride. The mind can celebrate missing evidence in the morning and the panic over surviving statements by night. Now, I want the class's verdict on this, right? I want the class's verdict on this, right? Would your mind be at peace if the files were gone, but your own words were still alive? How would you feel right now if you was Keefe D? I'm entering you into Keefe D's mind. Now I'm gonna take you down a dark psychological twist with a crazy ride that you would never imagine, but I've survived 26 years in federal prison and 50 years in the streets. He may think they lost the case, right? But they still got him. This is the line right here. Keefe D may be thinking they lost the evidence, but the courtroom may be thinking, we still have you. Not physically, but psychologically, legally, publicly. Because when a man talks for years, like Keefe D did, he leaves pieces of himself everywhere. Because that's what he wanted, to leave behind a legacy. Now, they're trying to give him the legacy as the man that's responsible for Tupac's death. Now, a sentence here, a quote there, a book chapter here, a podcast clip, a documentary answer. Now the government may not have to recover every old file, all of those clips. They can say, let's talk about what you said, Keefe, in the book. That's colder than lost paperwork. Because missing evidence create doubt, but a man's own words create a different kind of problem. Now your lawyer ain't just fighting the state. Your lawyer's fighting the version of you that wanted to be heard, that wanted to be remembered, that wanted a legacy connected to Tupac. Let's get to the jewel. I like to ride. Let's ride. All right, let's ride. When your own words survive the missing files, your lawyer has to fight both the government and your mother effing ego, Keefe D. You know how much money extra you're paying, not just them taking you to trial. If they had the missing file, they took you to trial, the missing file without the book, you still have to pay money to get a lawyer. They was gonna eventually try and do that anyway. But now they got the book and all your interviews. Do you know how much extra money Keefe D is paying right now to beat his own words? Come on, man. Y'all in the class? Y'all paying attention? Is the hardest witness to beat sometimes your very self? What's your verdict on that? Now, let's talk about the code held under pain, but the camera found the crack. Huh? Let's see if y'all can understand where this go. Now, let's go even darker. I'm taking you where my trauma is bringing this content out for y'all right now. Let's go darker, because this is not a internet street code conversation, right? This is real code, the kind of code that can make a man suffer in silence. A man's mother can be kidnapped, tied up, tortured, pistol whipped, and traumatized in the street that honors the code. Because that's what happened with me. I'm telling you my story. I still didn't go to the police. Didn't report it, didn't get them involved, none of that. Because I'm not gonna assist them. But Keefe D assisted them by writing a whole book about it and wasn't even charged for the crime. So he gave them the evidence to charge him. See, all this they already know because the streets talk, as far as in my situation. And that code says we don't cooperate. But now Keefe D is doing what they call, dry snitching on himself. A man's brother can be dead, right? Family bleeding, pain sitting in the house. And that code says we don't tell. My family went through trying times when my brother got hit twice in the head. Rest in peace to my brother. But we still didn't go to the police and tell. And we didn't go running around talking about it. The streets did that, and that's what brought us in. Now, I'm not glorifying that. Don't think for 1 second I'm glorifying that. I'm just trying to show you how dark this world is. And this is the world Keefe D wanted to enter into when he wrote that book, because he wanted to leave a legacy that he was a part of this dark world that I'm in that I wish I was never a part of. But it made me who I am today. Keefe D is striving to create his own trauma because he's been living in a psychological cell, and I'm gonna break down the psychological cell in a minute. Now, like I said, I'm not glorifying this. I don't want y'all to think that's what I'm doing. I'm just giving you the real to let you know it's better to stay on the sidewalk. You got a better chance of not getting hit by a car, because they speeding out there, and it's a dirty game. You got cars ain't even registered. That's dude that's not qualified for the street. They not registered for the street. They not qualified. You got dudes that, they blinkers don't work. That means they can't see nobody but themselves. You got some that their headlights don't work. They can't see where they at. They just there walking around in the dark, getting in your way. And that's what caused chaos on the street. When all they had to do was leave their ass parked if they had no lights or their blinkers wasn't working, and just stay the hell off the street. Now, let's ride. I'm not glorifying, I'm not teaching, I'm just being real. I'm explaining that psychology of it, right? Because if a man can stand on silence through family pain, and I know Keefe D went through everything that I did, maybe not the same exact situations, but there were times when he knew that he didn't tell some things that would go to the grave because that's family and they won't tell on family. But now this is Tupac. You know what I mean? We could talk about that to try and blow up. If a man can swallow trauma for the code, then the real question is not, why did he talk? The real question is, what was stronger than the pain? What got through the door that police pressure could not? What got into the door of his mind that police pressure couldn't get through to make him cooperate? What slipped past the code? The camera? The attention? The need to be remembered? The need to say I was there? Let me give you the jewel in that so we can speed up, because y'all might not understand that anyway. I don't want to drag on nothing too long. Some men won't talk when pain is screaming, but they will talk when recognition starts whispering. Now, give me your verdict on this, Ron. Put your verdict in the comments. Is ego more dangerous than fear in street culture, in your opinion? Now you got a chance to bring your nosy ass over here into the street that I'm telling you to stay the hell out of. All right. Now, he didn't think he was telling. That's the crazy part. He's not charged for the crime and he didn't think he was telling, right? So let's see where we go. He didn't think he was telling. So now, this part is important. So pay attention, class. Now, a man like Keefe D may not look at it like telling. That's what makes it psychological. He might say, I ain't cooperate. He might say, I ain't sit down with them. He may even say, I was just telling history. He may even say, everybody already knew this. He may even say, that was just a book. He might say, that was entertainment. But the courtroom does not care what you call it in your mind, Keefe. The courtroom does not ask, did this feel like cooperation to him? The courtroom asks, can we use it? That's the nightmare in the street. Intentions matters. In court, words matter. Now, let's get the jewel going. A man can say he never told while the courtroom says his words still told stories, right? Now, class, I want y'all to answer this, right? Does the street definition of telling matter once a judge allows the words in? Do the street definition of telling matter once the judge allows the words in as evidence? The book would not disappear. That book would never go anywhere. God forbid, when his time to pass, that book is going to sell millions of copies and his generation is going to eat off it. You know, because this what we're witnessing with this trial, with me making this video, is all history. This is where hope turns dark. The missing files gave him hope. The lost floppy disk gave him hope. The unavailable reports gave him hope. But then the book stays in play as key evidence, the main evidence now. The statements stay in play. The interviews stay in play. So now he's trapped between two realities. One reality says they lost evidence. The other reality says, but they kept your words. That is the cell inside the cell. Because every time he hears missing evidence, hope comes alive. And every time he remembers what he said publicly, fear walks back in. And that's what Keefe D is dealing with. You know, we like to ride into the jewel. We like to ride into the jewel. Missing files can open the window, but your own words could slam the door back shut, Keefe. Y'all reported to class today. Everything was all right getting to class. Everything was all right getting your phones and, you know, picking the right joint on YouTube. And remember, like I said, I'm going to say it again. Got the 100,000. I know the content fire. The views are low because you got the hit. Now that's what they want. They don't get to, oh, get the views, get the views. You get the views and they say, okay, now the views don't matter. Now you got to get people to like, hype. And you don't got the hype. You know, they got to share the video. They got to put a comment. If they don't put a comment in, I don't care if it's emoji, anything, put something in the comment. If you don't do that, they ain't trying to hear none of that. And this message will get lost and the youth can't hear it. Do your part by doing the above. Now, like I said, if the book stays in, right, how much do the lost files really save them, in your opinion? Let's talk about that. If they still have the book, does it matter if they lost the files? Right? Let's go. The floppy disk and the microphone. I talk about the floppy disk and the microphone. Let me break it down simple. The floppy disk is old. The technology is dead. The file may be unreadable. The evidence may be damaged, but the microphone was new. The camera was clear. The book was printed. The internet saved the clips. That is the cold part about modern consequences. The old evidence may decay, but the ego evidence stays clean. A floppy disk can fail. A public statement can live forever, Keefe. And now the old world and new world meet in court. The old world and new world meets in court. You know what that is, right? Put in the comment if you know what I mean when I say the old world and the new world is meeting in court. Old evidence missing, new statements surviving. And the man in the middle is wondering which one matters more. Whoa, Keefe got a hard one on his hands. Hey, let's ride into the jewel. Let's ride into the jewel. The floppy disk died, but the microphone remembered everything. Now, y'all in class, right? You said you made it here all right? Okay, all right, relax, y'all. Take your coats off and relax, In 2026, is a podcast clip stronger than an old police file? Now, if y'all ain't got a comment to that, y'all ain't trying to push this message. In 2026, is a podcast clip of a person saying out of his own mouth whatever he's saying, right? Is that stronger than an old police file from 1996? Put that in the comments. Now, let's talk about the dark psychological cell that I mentioned, right? Now, go inside his head real quick, right? Let's go inside Keefe D's head, right? The unit gets quiet late at night. The noise dies down. We're talking about in the prison, right? But now we're talking about the psychological prison that he created. The doors is locked and the mind starts talking. First thought, they lost the files. Second thought, they couldn't get everything. Third thought, maybe the case is weak. Then the fourth thought, the one that makes the stomach drop. But what did I say in that book? That's what could get me. Now he starts replaying everything. The book, the interviews, the moment leading up to the story, the times he answered instead of saying quiet. They say, oh, he ran the police back, got Keefe D locked up. No. Keefe D could have just said, no, I'm not gonna answer that question. That's Keefe D, he's a man. But they want to blame it on the interviewer that asked the questions. Crazy. That's why I don't really get into the talking about the cases, because you rat bastards and flip-flop wearing in public trolls that I can't stand for the life of me. Look for anything to try and pull the people away from the positive message. Like I say, this is not about Keefe D. This is about the lesson in the situation that Keefe D is going through and how we could use this to manipulate it, to enter it into the youth's mind, to know and see how serious this is by tuning into unique Mecca audio. It's just too real for you. Now, right, every word is weight that came out of his mouth. Every quote has a shadow. Every old camera clip becomes a ghost in the cell. That's dark. Because the missing files could give him legal hope, but his own words give him mental torture and fear of what's to happen next. And that's why we're gonna ride into the jewel. All right, relax, y'all, relax. Thank you for coming to class again. The darkest thing in a cell is not always the silence. Sometimes it's your own voice coming back to visit you. Did y'all understand that? Well, what's your verdict on this, right? Put your verdict in the comments. Could you sleep if the state lost files but still had your own words to use against you? Put that in the comments, man. Now, let's talk about the two courts, right? There's two courts here, right? We have Keefe D is facing two courts. One is the court of law, the other is the court of street legacy. The street court rewards a man for being official. It rewards the man who can say, I was there. It rewards the man that can say, I know what happened. It rewards the man who can sit in front of cameras and speak like history belongs to him. But the court of law is different. The court does not clap. The court does not care about reputation. The court does not care if the story made you look solid or not. The court asks, can this help prove something? That's the clash. A man gets praised in one court and punished in another. Do you think Keefe D should be punished for Tupac's unaliving? Based on what you know, put it in the comments. Now, we're gonna ride into the jewel. We're gonna ride into the jewel, right? Street legacy can crown you in public and bury you in court. Now, class, I need to know your verdict on this, right? Put your verdict in the comment. Is being remembered worth becoming evidence? Is being remembered worth becoming evidence and your worst evidence in your own case? Now, let's talk about false hope, right? Because, we ride. Hold on. I feel bad when I be on here. Hold on, I ain't even tell y'all, right? Make sure you go cop my books. It ain't about all that. I just seen the book and I thought about it. At roaringharlem.com. Y'all want to know who I am, all right? And what I've been through. That's my book, right? But luckily it can't come out and use it evidence against me because I just did a life plus 20 years and the Honorable Donald Trump released me so I could come out here and work with y'all on YouTube and tell y'all what's going on. All right? So let's ride. Let's ride. Let me talk to the young brothers and sisters now, right? Do not misunderstand missing evidence. Don't think just because something is lost, the evidence is over. Cases can survive in different ways. Witnesses, statements, timelines, recording, book, prior interview. The system does not always need the exact price, the exact piece you think they needed. They build with what remains. That's why you never give them extra. Never hand them your ego. Never hand them your mouth. Never hand them your image. Never give the courtroom a gift and call it a story. Because once you give words, you may not get to decide how they're used. But now the prosecutor, he knows how to use those words. And we're at the jewel. A missing file is a problem for the state, but a public confession style story can become a gift they never had to earn. It just fell into their lap because you opened your mouth. Now, let's talk about the family sentence, right? Let's talk about how his family is affected by the sentence that he's going through having to fight this, right? And here's what makes it heavier. This ain't just him sitting this out, right? His family sits with him too. They hear lost evidence and hope rises in the family's talks. They hear book aloud and fear comes back. They hear trial date and the stomach tightens. That's the family sentence. Up, down, hope and fear, good news, bad news, old filing. And one filing after another. Nobody sleeps normal. Nobody breathes normal. Nobody answers the phone normal because everyone have to put on the tough face that I'm strong and I'm holding this down for you. Because one man's old words can keep a whole family trapped in uncertainty of what's gonna happen with his future. That's what Keefe D's words did. He just trapped his family into holding on to hope and trapped into the uncertainty of what's gonna happen with his future. Now, Jewel, Let's ride. When a man's mouth become evidence, his family serves the anxiety with him. Now, being that y'all came to class, right? Do men think about the family sentence before they chase the spotlight? Do you youngins, right? This to all y'all watching this. Do y'all think about how your actions could affect your family when you break the law? Let's put that in the comments. All right? Now, I feel like I'm gonna just warn the youth and get out of here. I've been on here, 40 minutes. I know y'all tired of me. I apologize again. I'm gonna let y'all go because I know y'all don't want to stay, after class. If you want to stay after class, put in the comments if you want to stay after class, meaning that you like them, long. If you don't, just put in the comments, nah, I'm ready to go. All right? I won't take it disrespectful. Just let me know how long to make these videos, right? Because I could go on all day because I love talking to y'all and giving these jewels, right? Young brothers, this is a warning. Stop thinking every story needs to be told. Stop thinking every old move needs a witness. Stop thinking every scar needs a microphone. Stop thinking, some things should turn into wisdom, not content. In other words, just keep it in your mind. Some pain should become lesson, not a performance. Meaning, keep it in your mind. Don't go out there and act for the cameras. Some survival should make you quieter, not louder. Meaning, Keefe D survived the Tupac era. Keefe, the people that need to know. You didn't need to go after the world to know by going on these platforms telling those stories. Like, I'm not up here telling my stories for nothing other than to reach the youth and let them know that I'm qualified to give them the jewels to stay the F out of prison and how to stay on that sidewalk, because the streets is real. And them cars and trucks ain't playing, Now, some survival should remain quiet, not louder. If you really survive darkness, use it to save somebody else. And that's what I'm trying to do. Do not use it to prove you were somebody, because proof can become paperwork and paperwork can become prison, right? And we ride. A real OG does not need to prove how dark his past was. He proves his growth by keeping the youth from repeating his past. And that's what my mission is at Unique Mecca Audio. What is your verdict on that and this? Are old street stories teaching the youth or tempting them to chase the same darkness and fame that we did? Let me give you the hard closing, right? Let's ride to that. Check it out. So this Keefe D story is not just they lost evidence. It's what happens when the evidence they lost is weaker than the words you kept giving them. It's not just they lost the floppy disk. The floppy disk died, but the microphone you talked in stayed alive. It's still living. You talk too much. Remember that song? You talk too much. That's what falls under Keefe D. And it's not to diss him, we just keeping it 100. What psychological hunger makes a man who stood on code through pain still speak with the cameras? That's the lesson. The state may lose files, technology may fail, old reports may disappear, but ego lives a different kind of evidence, and sometimes the most dangerous witness is not the man across the street. It's the version of yourself that you need to be known as. The streets are real, the prison is realer, and it's not worth it. Don't say I didn't tell you, we riding.